Welcome to Wind Power Project Management Podcast. My name is Emanuel Saxe, and I will be your host today. I'm currently studying here at the Wind Power Project Management Master, and my bachelor is Mechanical Engineering. Today's topic is wind energy technology, and we are happy to have Anders Wickström here. He is a senior project manager at RISE.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. Can you explain a little bit what RISE does?
Yeah, RISE is a company owned by the Swedish state, not to earn money, but to support other companies somewhere in between the academia and where the companies do their project development. So we are looking into research areas where several companies face similar issues, and there we can apply for funding to look further into these typical questions.
Okay. And can you explain a little bit of your story and your career, what you have done in the past?
My background is wind turbine design engineer. So from being an engineer, I'm more of an engineer than a researcher, I would say, because I spent 25 years on designing wind turbines. But as we don't have any wind turbine manufacturers in Sweden any longer, I worked as a consultant, and I was motivated some years ago to or picked, or how we say it, because I have a former colleague that now is my manager, and he asked me, why don't you come to RISE and do your further work here? So it's an interesting workplace, and it is very far from being a consultant, but a little bit.
Okay. And at RISE, you look at current trends or some like research gap or
One example of not very much wind turbine related problem is about hydrogen and how to produce hydrogen to minimize losses. So there were very many, or a number of energy companies that were looking into hydrogen production, and if you do it in combination with district heating production, you can make district heating out of the losses. So that was one study called Hycogen.com. There you can read more about that, how we worked for several companies facing the same problem. Another area is about grid services for wind turbines, which is a general new question for the stability of the grid, and for many wind turbine owners, how they can make profit from grid services, selling grid services and not only energy.
Okay, yeah. And we covered a little bit of that before with the FFR, yeah, exactly.
Fast frequency reserve.
Yeah, can you just explain a little bit more about that?
That specific rapid case that we have been looking into is that wind power can provide these services by, for example, increasing the rotor speed a bit to have the inertia reserve in the rotating turbine, and then just in case the grid needs it, release that energy very rapidly. And we've looked into how much, or actually how little, power production you lose by running the turbines with this little higher rotor speed to have this energy reserve to provide these services.
Okay. Oh. And do you see any more like in the future opportunities and challenges within the industry grid or within the wind power?
Yeah, we will look further into more grid services. Now we have actually a new project funded, which we call FlexiWind, where we see the consequences for the wind turbines to provide the other services as well, the FCRD and other more long-term services. That is a larger bulk that Svenska Kraftnät is buying. So we look forward to that, how wind turbines can further stabilize and support the grid.
Okay. And also you have worked in Oslo with hydropower.
Yeah.
How does contribute to your overall perspective?
Well, yeah, hydropower, I mean, it's of course interesting. The thing, what I learned from wind power when I worked with hydropower is the dynamics of a wind turbine. It's very much a fatigue system where you need to be aware of the resonance frequencies in the wind turbine. And that knowledge was maybe not so developed for hydropower. They had their thumb rules, how to design a hydropower turbine, and sometimes they could run for 100 years without any problem, but some other turbines suddenly had some cracks after just a quite short time, and my addition to that, or what I expected, was that there was some kind of resonance that they didn't account for. So that was what I started to investigate there.
Okay, and in your history, you also have developing floating.
With floating wind turbines. Yeah,
and it was very early on in the developing, or was it?
No, because early on floating was not even invented.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So we have some companies, Hexicon and Flow Ocean, and some other also, Seatwirl, that are working with floating platforms, and we see in the world and in Europe a large variety of different floating wind concept. The Norwegians, the high wind is mainly, or maybe the most, the one which has come longest, where there is now existing wind farms with that concept out in Scotland.
Okay, yeah.
So, but there are very many different interesting concepts when it comes to floating, and that's where the large potential is in the future, because we don't have too much of shallow water. We have the North Sea, but if we look into the whole ocean and all the potential that is out there, it's deep water, and floating will be the future, I guess. I'm quite sure of that. But right now it's a bit more immature and expensive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very interesting to see what's ahead. And if you, with your experience and now you are a project manager, what is, if you want to be a good project manager, what's the key, do you think, to be
Well, to be a good project manager, I think it's important that people in the project enjoys being in the project. To motivate people to really enjoy there in all kind. I mean, both technically, but also from a social and a point of view, and so everybody is motivated not by piskan, not by punish them, but rather by the carrot, that they realize that this is an interesting project and we want to participate in our best way.
Yeah, and connect to that, what drives you forward when working with? You have been over 30 years.
Well, what is driving me is how we can build a society based on renewable energy and circularity and sustainability for the future. So that's what's driving me since very long time. You can say since I started within the wind power business.
If for any new students entering this, would you have some advice to give?
Well, it's a huge area. The energy sector, it will probably be hot as it is right now for the next 100 years, I assume. So it's a huge area, many challenges. Advice. I think it's interesting because there are so many different areas to look into, and when it's interesting, then you want to work with it. So that's what will drive more people than me, I think, in the future, and I hope so, because we need you young people to take the next future steps here to develop the energy system.
And in your lecture we had before, you mentioned some questions you had that may be almost a thesis to write about. Can you mention some of your questions you have?
We discussed here about how to make wind power more profitable. Right now, many wind turbine owners are struggling with very low electricity prices when there are good winds. So when now finally we have really good winds, but we are not paid for the electricity. So that is, of course, a challenge and a topic that many are thinking of, how to do this in the future. Okay, maybe selling grid services, maybe combine wind with solar to the same grid. Maybe how can we utilize batteries, so-called hybrid wind farms, all these, and what sizes, how to combine these different areas in the most profitable way. That's what I think many companies now are struggling with in this new market situation.
Okay, it has been very interesting, the guest lecture, and also further on with the podcast here. And I thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you.